Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, this week's guitar lesson is a ragtime blues played in the key of C. And this is another one of those lessons where you can play by yourself, just you and a guitar. You don't need a band or a jam track or anything. I know that a lot of you like this style of lesson. And so anyway, I'm going to show you how to play all these little rhythm and lead parts. In the lead parts, there's a lot of open strings that ring out. It's something you hear a lot in bluegrass, for example. But anyway, I've incorporated a lot of those ragtime, blues, bluegrass, whatever you want to call it, licks into this lesson. And I'll also show you how you can transpose them and play them in different keys. So if you wanted to play it in another key, I'll show you how you can easily do that. If you want to download the tablature for this week's lesson, there's obviously no jam track this week, but the tablature is available, as well as the on-screen tab viewer, that new feature that I have on Active Melody, which allows you to slow down the playback and loop sections and all of that. You're going to want to go, if you want those things, you're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP096. That's the lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first half. Alright, so I've switched my guitar. I'm using this one because it has the fret markers. Makes it a little easier to follow along with. And so what we're going to learn here is kind of a ragtime blues. I didn't really know how else to describe this style. And it's all played in the key of C. Now this is going to be a different approach for lead because we're going to be taking advantage of a lot of open strings. And I haven't really done a lesson on this style. And I really like it a lot. Once you kind of get used to some of these licks that you can do with open strings, you'll be able to translate that and play that, use that in your own soloing. So if you like this style, you want to check out an artist like Dave Rawlings. He plays with Gillian Welch, and just a great guitar player. Now one thing you'll notice Dave do, since he does take advantage of these open strings, like this, he uses the capo. So like if you want to switch keys, you get comfortable with a set of licks and you just put a capo down, and then you can play those licks, around the capo. So that's kind of one of the things that you would want to, just sort of keep a mental note if you wanted to translate this to another key. You'd do it with a capo, playing these same licks. The other thing to point out is we're going to be kind of going between the major and minor pentatonic with a lot of them. You go from kind of major happy to kind of minor blues, and they're all kind of mixed together. And I'll try and point that out when I can. Okay, so the first thing that happens is we go right into the C chord, and what I do is I just go ahead and put my pointer finger down on the 1st fret 2nd string, which is part of the C chord, the top part of the chord, and then I go ahead and play the 3rd string open, do a hammer on there with my middle finger on the 2nd fret 3rd string, and then I do an upstroke with the right hand, so those are 2 downstrokes, do an upstroke on that 1st fret 2nd string, and then watch this. I go ahead and put my fingers in position to play the C chord. Just like that. And the strumming pattern, even though a lot of it is picked, and there's a lot of single notes in it, but when I do strum, it's kind of this style. Kind of very laid back. So, okay, so that's the first thing that happens. Now watch what happens. I go right to the F, and I play it once. I just do one downstroke on the chord. And that's to define it for your ear. So since you're not playing with any, you don't have another musician playing with you, you have to kind of fill the space and define the parameters as best you can. And so that's what you're doing by starting with the C chord, and then going to the F. And then right after I played the F chord, I just did the one downstroke. I went. Actually, let me back up and do that again. Here's the timing of it. So let me show you that lick. Now, this is a cool lick because you'll be able to translate this. You'll be able to see how it plays around the F chord. So think of the F chord. We're here, so theoretically our root fret, if we were playing in the key of F, would be here. But watch how this plays around the chord. So it starts on the 3rd fret 1st string. We go to the 2nd fret 1st fret. So we just walk it down. Now watch this. So then I come down, and I use my ring finger for this. Some of you may want to use your pinky. But 4th fret 2nd string. Then we come down to the 3rd fret 2nd string. Then 1st fret 2nd string. So let's just do that. Now, to close it out, we go. And so that's just played there. So once I put my pointer finger down on the first fret, I leave it down, and then I use my middle finger here on the second fret, third string to play. Now we play the open third string, and then we're back to the first fret, second string. And you can hear how I let that note ring out. Let that open note. Okay, so let me back up. I'll do it slowly. Let me do it a little slower than that. Okay, now what I just did was I played a set of notes around the F chord. So if you think about that F chord, you know, you're taking up these 3 frets, right? This is how I think of it. These 3 frets are taken up by your fingers. So when I started that lick, see how it's playing around that chord? So then you start to think, well, wait a minute, what if the chord was up here? What if it was an A chord? So you could take those same notes, even if you didn't have the capo in this case, and work around that chord. So anyway, where there's an F chord, even though this is in the key of C, that little lick works. Now, one thing you couldn't do if you were to play it in a different position is, see how we got that open note there? And again, this is where these open strings are going to come into play. So you would have to, if you wanted to do this in a different key, I would recommend using a capo. Then you could do it note for note. Okay? So we have... Now, as soon as I play that, we're back to, notice the pointer finger's down again, we're right back to that C chord. Now watch this. See how I threw in my pinky there on the 3rd fret, 4th string, and that gives me a C7th sound. Now C7th is kind of, it's a bluesy chord, it's also an anticipatory chord, which means you're anticipating going to another chord. And so your ear knows it's going somewhere, and in this case it would be going to the F. So, okay, now after that, watch this. Then I went. Now what I did there from the C7th chord is I came up here, I started on the 5th fret, 5th string with my ring finger, and I slid up to the 7th fret. Now we're going to play between the 5th fret and the 7th fret because, think about why, when we're playing in the key of C, the major pentatonic scale would be right here. And you may ask yourself, well, hang on, why would that be? Well, think about the minor pentatonic scale. So you should know this by now from the blues lead course at Active Melody, but the minor pentatonic scale all plays around that root fret. So if we're playing a C bar chord, for example, our root fret is the fret that we bar. Now what that means is that if we're playing the minor pentatonic scale, it's going to sound real bluesy around that bar that we've... that fret that we put the bar down on. So that becomes your root fret. Now if you want to go to the major pentatonic scale, and I know I stress this point a lot, but we shift down everything down 3 frets, 1, 2, 3. Now we're in the major pentatonic scale, so we went from minor to major. So anyway, my point in all of that is to let you know when we go from that C7th and we slide up and play these licks, that's right in that major pentatonic scale for the key of C. So hopefully that makes sense. Minor would be up here. You can tell it sounds bluesier, but major would be here. Okay, so from the C7, a little diversion there. So what we do is we slide from the 5th fret up to the 7th fret on the 5th string. Now we're going to go from the 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 4th string. Now we're going to go from the 5th fret to the 7th fret on the 3rd string. But this time we're going to do a bend. So we're bending there on the 7th fret, and it's a full bend as best you can. Depends on the gauge of strings you have on your acoustic, or you could do this on electric too. But we're going to bend it there on the 7th fret, and we're going to end up on the 5th fret, 3rd string. So let's do that. I'll do that slowly from the C7th. Okay. Now, once we get to here, watch what happens. Believe it or not, this fingering right here of the 5th fret, 3rd string, happens to be, if you play that with your pointer finger, you can very easily switch into an F chord by taking your middle finger and putting it down on the 5th fret 1st string and your ring finger on the 6th fret 2nd string. And what you have there is just a D shape. So if you learn a D chord down here, this is just a D shape. But when you play it up here, it becomes an F. So you played an F down here. Now you're playing an F up here. So you're going back to the F chord for the listener's ear without having to come down and always play an F chord down here. So that's one of the things you're going to really want to try and pick up is don't get comfortable playing. When somebody says play an F chord, don't just think, oh, I got to play it down here. You can play it up here. You can play it in many different places on the neck. So you can play it up here as well. So think about your different voicings and get comfortable with them. Okay, so see how easily you can jump right into that F? Because your pointer finger's already in position. You just take these 2 fingers and put them down. Okay. Now then, watch this. So what I did here, guitar's a little loud too, is I came up here, so I did an F here. Now I came up and played an F up here as well. So let me show you this one. This is on the 8th fret 1st string. Then I'm up here on the 10th fret 2nd string with my ring finger. And then the 10th fret 3rd string with my middle finger. And I'm only playing those top 3 strings. That's another way to play an F, see? And the reason that I'm up here playing this is so I can play this, look. That's the beauty of editing. Okay, now we're back in tune. So we have... So what I'm doing there is I'm just using my pinky. So I just showed you how to make this F. So watch, the pinky goes down here. Get where you can see it. It goes down on the 10th fret 1st string. And then it slides up to the 11th fret on the 1st string. Then back to the 10th fret. And then off. So what you have when you play it is like this. Now I'm using all downstrokes, and again we're only playing those top 3 strings. Okay, so from here, so from the C7th, watch this. Okay, there's that lick. Now we're back to this F that's down here. And then we're down to the C. And this time when I play the C chord, I use my pinky on the 3rd fret 1st string to get this note. So really, if you were to break down the melody part, I guess, it goes like this. That's why I added that note into the C. Okay, let me back up from the beginning. We'll play through everything up to this point. Now, as soon as I come to the C, I play a lick that goes. That sounds like a mouthful, but let me break that down. You'll see it's pretty easy to do. You start here on the 3rd fret. Let's do it in groups of 3s. So we're going to do 3rd fret 1st string, 1st fret 1st string. Then we're going to come down and play the 4th fret 2nd string. Now watch what happens after that. So you got 1, 2, 3. So it's open 1, the 1st fret 2nd string, and then the 2nd fret 3rd string. All right, so let's cover those 6 notes. So here's what we have. We have. Now the next 3 go like this. So it's an open 3rd string, 1st fret 4th string, 2nd fret 4th string. Let's back up and play all 9 notes now. there's only one other note, which is here, which is the bottom of the C chord. Think of the C chord. It's just the 3rd fret, 5th string. So what you're going to want to do is just practice that. That can give you kind of a headache in the beginning because it's all these notes and you're trying to memorize it. But once you get comfortable with it, what you start to realize are around a C chord, if you're ever playing strummy type stuff with a C chord, you can work this lick in and it's always going to sound pretty good. So just practice that. Here it is again slowly. Oh, watch the picking hand. It's just alternate picking. Down, up, down, up. And make sure you check out the tablature as well. Obviously this will be in the tab. It'll also be on the on-screen tab viewer, which is that new feature that I've added to Active Melody. So you can follow the tab along in real time. You can slow it down. You can loop sections and all that stuff. So, all right. And then when I got to the end of it, I strummed the C chord again. And I think I added the pinky up here again on the 3rd fret, 1st string. Okay, now to get to the G part, of the G7th, I went, came down and played this real low bass thing. And it starts with the low 6th string, or the low E string. Then we play the 1st fret, 2nd fret, and 3rd fret. So it's just a straight walk up. So get the timing of that, it goes like this. You can see it comes right in so that you're ready to play that on the 1. And the way that I play the G chord, now I would do this probably a little different each time I did it, but the easiest way to think of this is, since you're walking up, I use my ring finger there for that, and then I take my pinky and I put it down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. Oh yeah, I also put my middle finger down on the 2nd fret, 5th string. That way I can play that open 1 string, and it just gives it a little different feel than just playing a straight G chord. But you don't have to do that. You could play a G chord or even a G7. But I just thought it sounded kind of cool to go, to play that. Okay, now this is my favorite lick in the whole thing. Right after that, I played this. I got. That's just got that real kind of. It sounds. What's the word? It clashes. It just almost sounds wrong. It is wrong actually. I think probably technically. If you were to break it down. At least this part. So what I'm doing for that lick is I'm using my ring finger on the 4th fret, 2nd string, and I'm playing strings 1 and 2. And as I play them, you can see it just is this horrible sound. It's just a real bad clash. But what I do is when I play it, I'm bending that note slightly. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, the sloppier the better, I think, on this. So that's what the effect is. So you bend that, and then you play the 3rd fret, 1st string, which would be this G note here. And that's how you start that lick. So it goes. Now watch this. Then you're going to come down and play the 1st fret on the 1st fret, 2nd string, and then the 2nd fret, 3rd string. So let's back up. We have. And we slide down like this. Now what I do for this part is I go ahead and make this little shape with my ring finger and middle finger. I put them both down on the 4th fret. The ring finger goes down on the 2nd string. The middle finger goes down on the 4th string. I pick the 4th string, and then I pluck with my ring finger on my right hand. Now you could use your pick on this too, but once I slide it down, so I slide both of them down one set of 1 fret. I go ahead at that point and then pluck the 2nd string with and I use my finger. You could use a pick though. You could go. And then we conclude it by making the C shape. So think of a C chord, but we're only going to use these 2 fingers. And I pluck them both at the same time. So I'm using my pick on the 4th string and my ring finger on the 2nd string. So we have, and that's how that whole little run goes. Just a really cool little, turnaround thing. Now you can only do this, again, with these open strings, so you can only really do that in the key of C. But remember, if you're in another key and you want to use licks like that, just grab a capo and put it down, and you can kind of do the math and figure out where you'd be to be able to use those open strings. Okay, so the final thing that happens after that is this little bluesy thing. And this is very much the same as what we did in the intro, or the first part, but we're going to start with the 3rd fret 1st string. We're going to do a straight walk down. So it's 3rd, 2nd, 1st fret, all on the 1st string. Then we come down here. I use my ring finger for this on the 4th fret 2nd string and do 2 bends, slight bends, it's not a full bend, so it's easy to do on an acoustic. 1st fret on the 2nd string, 2nd string 3rd fret, and then the last note there is on the 1st fret 2nd string. So we have, so here it is slowly. Okay, let's back up. We'll play everything up to that point to put it all in context. So here we go. And that's really all there is to the first half. So the second half goes into kind of an Elmore James / Chuck Berry thing with, we get into all of that, and I'll break that down, but that's going to be in the second video. So that's the first half. That gives you a lot to kind of work with, and hopefully that's been, these are some licks that you can start to use in your playing. And just remember, try doing it with a capo if you want to try doing it in a different key. Now obviously that's going to shift everything, but you should be able to work it out and figure out kind of how, where everything is in relation to the chords that you're playing. All right, we'll see you in part 2.